Welcome to the Creative Condition podcast with me, Ben Talon, illustrator and creativity coach, founder of the Creative Condition, artist and writer. I bring 20 years of creative industry experience and a lifelong love of creativity, a fundamental pillar of human happiness, to you through ongoing personal exploration and the shared experiences of others. You'll get a nourishing mix of creative industry professionals and people far and wide using creativity in ways that can take our learning to the next level so we can maximise our unique blend. The show's been supported from day one by Illustration X, a tremendous illustration agency representing a shining global roster of illustrators and animators over at illustrationx.com. The music for the show is by Dirty Freud, who you can listen to now on all good streaming services. And for everything else, for my coaching, resources and inspiration, head to thecreativecondition.com. Today we're getting into the Creativity Diary. It's entry 20. I've been rambling for a little while now. These are my unrefined thoughts, reflections and insights into creativity. That's the name of this show. We're not talking about making art, we're talking about the human fundamental, why it matters for our mental health, for our continued future on this very planet. It gets that deep and sometimes it can be really fucking silly. Welcome to the Creative Condition. Morning guys, how you doing? Are you well? Before we go any further, I just want to thank the loyal sponsor to this show, Illustration X. They've been around since its advent in 2015 when it was Arrest All Mimics. Shout out to the long-term listeners if you're still here. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, even if you only dip a toe every now and again. I know I do like to ramble rather incessantly, so I don't expect anyone to keep up with every single episode. That would be a big ask. How are you guys? Get in touch. Tell me how you are. I'd love to hear from you. I love dialogue around this show. Every now and again someone will message me about an episode going, that one really hit hard. Thank you. It's not that I want to be thanked. I just love connecting. That's why I do this. You know what I mean? That's why I talk in this way about creativity, because I truly love it and it means a lot to me. So thank you for listening in. You find me... I'm in a slightly better place. I've been having a bumpy year mentally, nothing too drastic, just a few too many episodes of getting fully dragged into anxious fight, flight, freeze mode, and it really hammering my creativity, getting too hung up on financial pressure and global events and climate crisis, and I'm getting there. I'm reading far, I'm reading wide. I mentioned on this week's earlier episode the Brew Brain Dump that I'm listening to. The Way Out is In, a beautiful little podcast about mindfulness, and from a Buddhist standpoint it's really gorgeous. There's some lovely material on there that helps to bring a sense of comfort about impermanence in the world. One episode I was recently listening to was talking about how it's okay to feel the grief of events in the world and things that we encounter, but to also feel the joy, the momentary joy in our lives, and not just completely go under with it and feel like there's no way out, because that's what it feels like, especially when I have these episodes. It feels so real. But then when you come out the other side and you reach a level again, you go, what was that about? Why did I allow myself to get into that state? But you do. So it's about having the thought processes to recognise the early stages of that coming on, to counter it and to be strong mentally, to focus on the moment, on the things. And it's all kind of platitudes unless you feel it and go through that process. But I do recommend that podcast. I recommend Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Beautiful book. There's so much out there that I could refer you on to, but you've got to kind of find your own path and your own way. Now is Better by Stefan Sagmeister, Steven Pinker's work, who wrote the foreword for that book, all about looking at the data and recognising there's a lot to be optimistic about, a lot that is better about today's world than it ever was, and about using that optimism and getting back to a baseline of optimism to address the stuff that we clearly face, the issues of this generation, which neither shies away from, but they want us to be more empowered about attacking those issues and fighting back against those who would have us going backwards. Here in the UK last week, just the kind of battered Conservative government that got knocked out of power last year is trying to capitalise. It's just become WWE. It's about tit for tat and about going after the other's policies. And they're talking, we're going to get rid of net zero. We're going to, and it's like, are you kidding me? You're actively telling me that you're going to attack my child's future to rip it all up, to appease your crony partners, which was always what the game was with those guys. But use that political sense of people the woke versus the nuggets. It's like the polarisation, the black and white of everything. It's really destructive. And I think if we allow ourselves to fall into black and white headspaces, so complete doom and gloom, complete optimism, it's about finding somewhere in the middle and acknowledging both and feeling your fight, isn't it? Anyway, that's where you find me. Let's get into the diary. Thank you to the Ukrainian Institute for all that they're doing over in Ukraine in this horrible time of war. Please consider supporting them, guys. I say it every episode, but all you got to do is go and click on ui.org.ua and you can have a look at the work of the incredibly brave creative community, and maybe you could share somebody's work, get them in with a chance of a commission. Even better, you could commission them if you're in a position to do so. So much talent out there, fighting bravely, creating still. Got to acknowledge that. It's amazing. Anyway, let's get into it. 26th of August 2025, RefCam. It felt more dystopian and psychologically intrusive than most of the shite I've tried under the horror category on Netflix. The way my screen jostled and swung from side to side, raking our faces with upsetting snatches of Premier League football superstars gesticulating, all sweaty and outraged, uncomfortably close to us, hands cupped together like Oliver Twist, begging for sustenance. It didn't linger on, any of them long enough for our brains to comprehend what we were seeing. Expertly, yet unintentionally employing the genius of the Blair Witch Project's What Was That? Handheld camera filmmaking technique. Welcome to RefCam, a squirming, sodden, utterly evil demon child birthed into the already sick world of top-flight football. The only consolation as I watched Newcastle United and Liverpool on Sky Sports Monday Night Football was the hilarious mask of revulsion on my 70-year-old dad's face. We were still trying to get over the poor referee's new performative responsibility of shouting out the VAR, video review system, decision through a microphone on the live audience. We weren't prepared for this. I can't stop thinking about it. To make matters worse, I'm reading Matt Dickinson's gorgeous 99, Manchester United, the treble and all that. I've learned so much about coaching team spirit, work ethic and roots, and sheer desire to master a craft from the story of one of sport's all-time greatest teams and its rightly revered manager. Don't get me wrong, even back in 1998-99, the money was out of control, but the turn of the century now feels like the last time fans and players were tethered in any way before the sport became big business. Why am I telling you all this? Well, as ever, I joined some dots. My beloved creative industry, while far from awash with dirty money and entitlement, is becoming increasingly performative as work pools shrink. They're shrinking because of a perfect storm of technological advances, greed, world events, shaky economies, risk aversion, and increasingly ready acceptance of affordable mediocrity. Social media hijacked a large part of what used to be much more about faces, places, and connections than it was about shouting for attention. This isn't entirely bad. How could it be? I landed my dream client, WWE, thanks to the accessibility of creative directors otherwise beyond my reach. I shouted for their attention and got it from the comfort of my spare room. But it happened because, despite the Atlantic Ocean between us, we built a relationship upon shared values and love of great design and creativity. What I really adored about my early trips to London, paying peanuts to sleep in an 8-bed dorm in a Brixton hostel, was walking into a 3D, real-life environment, never to look back. With every guest pass to a posh HQ, I was connected face-to-face in real life and felt all-important belonging. And it wasn't just the person I'd arranged to meet whom I met. They'd walk me around the studio or the design department, introduce me to other designers, editors, art directors, and whoever else might one day want to buy my artistic wares. It worked in the same way social media does, just with sore feet and a few beers at lunchtime or after the workday tacked on. You know what they smell like? A beer or a coffee ensured the person would remember you, not lose you in their bookmark tab forever. They'd stick their neck out to push for a superior to commission you because you were real and they'd seen you were professional. As I watched my dad's face scrunch into itself and almost disappear, I sniggered, but I understood and shared his horror, infusing the guffaw with sick desperation. You have to remember, he grew up in an era of professional football when it wasn't uncommon to see your heroes in the pub or the chippy after the match. I'm not saying this was better than the ultra-athlete celebrity incarnation of today's game, but it, like those days of just a generation ago in the creative industry, was built on connection between fan and player, and the vast majority of it was live and in living colour, not on Twitter. Commonality, respect, admiration, togetherness. Today, most of us in the creative industry forego that hard work. The half day of work and overpriced train ticket fare sacrifice required to make a meeting happen could be saved during a cost of living crisis, and we can send out hundreds of emails or create several posts, spinning thought leadership and portfolio posts like digital webs in the hope of catching new clients. Everyone is on there, at the tips of our fingers via keyboards and screens. So we all go there, every fucking one of us. But it means we have to shout louder to be heard, following the flock, in aping techniques to up our volume. Even then, we're scared of algorithms kidnapping our content. Before we know it, we're on our knees, hands cupped over our chins, begging and pleading to be seen and heard in the heat of the moment when things are tight and cash flow is dicked sideways. We're no different from the footballers on the ref cam, because that bond, the one that characterised bygone days of football and the creative industry, while not obsolete, is on the red list. It's endangered, and what we're left with is a bleached creative coral reef retaining the shape and the likeness of what we adore, only without colour or life. The ref cam comparison might be fanciful, given the fact the footballers are loaded and wear skint, but you can see my point. There's only one ref on that pitch, strapped up like the Terminator with lasers and microphones, time travel gadgets and cameras to force drama where it is least needed. The official carries great responsibility and power, the keys to the kingdom, and so gets swarmed like art directors asking for an illustrator recommendation online, despite only being able to appease one. 9th of September 2025. Newspaper Paul. Paul was a mate of my old man, when they both went on to Elland Road regularly to watch Leeds United. At 14 years old, that football club was the biggest slice of identity I had. The paper round started to add smaller bits of social armour to the outside of that big yellow, white and blue underbelly, ripe for being gutted by any failing of the team on match day. As a paper boy, I started to engage in small talk with the elderly folk in the flats I delivered to. Paul was the caretaker, and after sitting in the stairwells, sifting through the sports pages of the full spectrum, from tabloids to broadsheets, even Financial Times, I'd accidentally on purpose seek him out as he sorted the bins or the mail on the ground floor. He'd get all the transfer rumours, team news, and any other tenuous gossip surrounding the club. I had to work for it. This was 1997 and we weren't online yet, at least not down in our working class world. So we made a bond, and I felt like an adult, like I had some social worth at a time when, as a 14-year-old, it was incredibly easy to feel the complete opposite. I looked forward to this, and for the same reasons, I seek out and take every opportunity to expose my kids to such relationships with local adults outside of their home and school. It brings on belonging and a sense of psychological safety, maybe even validation for something. Back then, I'd sit in my room on the evenings and sometimes feel a nameless melancholy in my stomach, especially during the autumn and winter months. My sensitivity was coming to bear, and I had no way of understanding it, no idea how to talk to other people about feelings or the more expansive thoughts I was starting to have. It wasn't as if Paul was going to answer them, but somehow that passing interaction, built on something as trivial as sport, mattered. I made it out of bed far earlier than I'd liked, done my job, earned my £1 daily fee, and spoken to people, one of which knew something about me and the things I cared about. Sometimes that's enough, and I'd put that in any list of commandments to hand to anyone looking to lead a career and life with creativity. Get out, do things, say hello, share something real. It's incredible how it can set things on a better course. 5th of September 2025. Floundering now. A friend of mine posted about AI agents. I heard Stephen Bartlett talking about these. Fucking horrifying. I couldn't tell you a great deal about them, other than the fact they're another dollop of terrifyingly powerful technology that can do all kinds of things. He mentioned cold outreach, answering emails, all kinds of stuff. Now, I'm an organisational shit show. I pay my tax, my bills, and I've never missed a deadline, but I could do with an assistant to crack the whip and handle some of that boring but all-important business stuff that helps keep things from caving in on our sensitive heads. But to date, and I'm not saying I can't learn, I've typed one thing into ChatGPT about what other jobs there might be for my skill set and experiences during an acute lean spell. Part laziness, part ignorance, part ideological opposition to the resource uses at a time we can ill afford to push the climate any further. If it comes down to having a habitable planet or sorting my admin, then even I will happily get my act together and boot up a few new spreadsheets. So I thought about this on a short walk, and it occurred to me that while the future is now, and I'm still woefully trapped in a parallel dimension, the archaic present that is still here in front of my eyes in the physical world, but run increasingly by Minority Report technology, I'm also locked out of an important past I might soon have to lean into, a nomadic, survival-driven one. I'm slowly but surely prepping, buying Swiss Army knives, torches and water purification tablets, reading guides on making fires, eyeing up courses in the woods run by ex-army experts. What a confusing time to be alive. I'm doing the prep stuff to help with my eco-anxiety, which is far from unfounded, but needs addressing before it torches my creativity and peace of mind altogether. Now that I think of it, is there even a future where I have a survival assistant? Where the present way as we know it is spunked away in an astonishingly stubborn display of human greed, arrogance and denial, but the bots stick around to, oh fuck this, I need to lie down. Cheers guys, I hope you enjoyed the latest instalment of the Creativity Diary for the Creative Condition. Check out the website now for all my creativity resources to help you strengthen and develop yours, thecreativecondition.com. If you want to access the coaching, then let's have a conversation. I'm booking pit stops in for the autumn and winter months now, working with people on a deep dive in their specific setup for creativity and their lives to help them get sorted, get focus and get some real control over moving forward on a path that illuminates them. Big thank you to the founding sponsor of the show, illustrationx.com, for all their wonderful animation and illustration portfolios. They'll help connect you with the right artist for your project. So much talent on there, spread across the world. It's a beautiful agency. And of course, the Ukrainian Institute doing an incredibly magic job in this awful time of war to support the Ukrainian creative community. You can help them out by checking out what they're up to at ui.org.ua and maybe sharing some stuff, maybe commissioning someone. Who knows? Cheers, guys. Thank you for listening. Take care. Have a great week. Back soon with a guest episode. Stay creative.